early Elton John.
Yeah, that's before Dua Lipa. Yeah. Maybe you should do this with Dua Lipa too.
Mm.
You know?
I will.
What?
Suggested.
Who did we send to the Heat game, by the way, Marcos?
We sent Anthony out of Davie.
All right. Anthony, enjoy Heat Nets,
Oh.
and good for him.
Hey,
Hmm?
my neighbor.
Yeah. He asked if he wanted to go. I said no. Leroy does not want to go to the game.
Let's go out to the Toyota of Hollywood guest line. Shop over 1,500 Toyotas indoors, one of America's largest showrooms at Toyota of Hollywood on 441 between Hollywood and Sheridan. He is the host, one half of the hosts of the Fish Tank Podcast. You hear it every week with OJ McDuffie. You hear him on the postgame show with OJ McDuffie. He is Seth Levit joining us here. What's going on, Seth? How are you, man?
What's happening? Happy New Year, fellas. I feel like it's been forever since we've done this.
I know.
Well, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see.
It's good to see you guys. And talk to me about these shirts. Was that a planned, coordinated thing? Like
it's Vice Shirt Friday. It's a show tradition.
I wish somebody would have filled me in. I'm a Tuesday guy filling in on Friday and looking a little unprepared.
We did this like way back.
How long have we been doing it? Like a long time.
Oh, we've been doing it like 6 years. We did it when we were doing shows back at the Hard Rock at the Poker Room. We're like, we're gonna wear just really outlandish shirts to the Hard Rock Poker Room.
I think that I have officially told on myself, haven't I? By not knowing what to do here on a Friday.
We got it goes way back. We didn't wear them to the ping pong tournaments ever to the Hard Rock. Maybe we should have filled it in. So maybe next time around we'll do that.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, if I'm ever here on a Friday again, I will be better prepared.
Okay.
Seth, give me your nerves level going into this weekend.
Oh man, nerves. Like in some ways, this is kind of everything you want, right? I mean, a game that matters and it means something on the last game of the season. You want to be playing for games that are important, games that are playoff games. But yeah, I mean, after the last 5 weeks, confidence has been shaken. You don't have there's a lot of positions where you're banged up, and certainly there's a little uncertainty at the quarterback position. And even if you knew who was starting, we've yet to play a game where a quarterback other than Tua starts and finishes the game. So there's a lot there that I hate to say nervous. I sure as heck hope the guys aren't nervous, but there are some things that don't necessarily make me think anything is in the bag.
See, Seth, 2 words. Maybe I can change your mind a little bit.
Okay.
And ease some of that nervousness.
Okay.
Joe Flacco.
Yeah. I had a feeling those were going to be the 2 words. And look, Joe Flacco, see, here's the thing. And I'm not comparing Joe Flacco to Aaron Rodgers, and maybe to some degree I am here. But when Aaron Rodgers came down, he wasn't having an Aaron Rodgers-like season. But what happens is every now and then guys are reminded that they are who they once were, right? And so we know that Joe Flacco has played on the biggest stage. He's won a Super Bowl. And, I sure hope that those 2 words aren't being whispered in the Dolphins locker room the way they just were into the microphone there, because ultimately the guy's been there and done that, and he can still play ball, but it's not Lamar, it's not like you're playing a Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers or Pat Mahomes or what have you. I get that. He's at a different stage of his career, but it doesn't matter. Every game we've played or we've seen the Dolphins play, there's been some reason why you think that this will be the one that they have the upper hand in, and they haven't put it together. So they just have to, it can't even matter what the Jets throw out there. The Dolphins need to get their stuff together.
Seth, I think part of the thing is that these games have been so close.
Yeah.
And every Dolphins mistake has been so critical, so much more critical than it was earlier in the year. I mean, keep in mind, what was the first half of the first half of the Ravens game, Tua threw 2 picks.
Listen, the Ravens game, they were down. They had to score 4 times in the fourth quarter. So there's no question they were able to overcome things differently.
Oh, that game was the best.
But it's just as the season has gone on, these games have been low scoring.
Yep.
And each of those interceptions have been more critical than they were earlier in the year. And so I don't know. I think tell me what you think of this. I think the make or break player is going to be Raheem Mostert.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, the running game in general, not surprising, Leroy, that you would you would suggest that here at this time of
backup
year.
quarterback, that's what you lean on.
Well, you're exactly right. And I think that you started to see some of that last week as well. And ultimately the thing that bit you in the behind was the pick six, right? That changed everything. And then you were unable to overcome that. My hope is that there was a glimmer of something really special when Skyler last time started a game against Minnesota. He had the entire week of practice as the starter, and he came down looking like, whoa, did we just uncover the next great thing? And then remember, they had that series where they got the ball, I think, inside the red zone, and might have had 3 or 4 penalties in a row. And next thing you know, they had 3rd and 107 yards or whatever it might be. Skyler hurts his finger. Everything falls apart. The rest is history, right? So my hope is that we see a more prepared Skyler Thompson, and that we see a little bit of what we saw there at the beginning of that Minnesota game. But I'm with you. In general, regardless of who's the quarterback, this is a league where at this time of the year, being able to run the football is critically important. We see what has happened when, if Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson are rocking and rolling and those guys are going downhill and chewing up defenses and making these defensive backs start to think twice about coming up there and trying to stick their nose in there, that it does start to shift the game and change the game. And even last week, I was like, okay, look, they're running the ball enough. You're not getting huge plays. You're maybe getting 3.5 yards instead of 5.5 yards, but look at the time of possession. Look at, how many less times you were giving the Patriots offense the football. You were starting to control everything until the big mistake. And so you're right. Turnovers at any time can be detrimental, but certainly this time of the year.
Has there been any part of you, because Leroy came in on Monday and he had finally given in thinking that this team is cursed? Have you found yourself in the long nights, the restless nights after this losing streak, feeling like, is this ever going to happen? Is it ever going to, because this felt so magical, Seth. We all allowed ourselves to believe this was going to be, and maybe it still will be. It's not dead yet, but
it's not one game season, guys.
In the dark football moments, have you thought to yourself, is this ever going to happen? This feels just like they find new ways to just disappoint every single year at the end of the year.
I hate to believe in a curse. I will tell you this, and going back to, and not to be completely shameless here, but going back to an old Fish Tank episode where we had Mercury Morris on, and he told the story of the Root Man and how he basically created a voodoo doll for Don Shula and buried it in his backyard somewhere in Miami. And my stepfather thought for the entirety of his life that if we don't go dig up that doll, the Dolphins will never win another Super Bowl. Needless to say, we've yet to dig this thing up.
So he wants to do a B&E just to get the Dolphins. That could be a movie, like
absolutely, or at least Geraldo Rivera and Al Capone's tomb or whatever it might be. But I hate to believe that they're cursed. I don't want to believe that that's the case.
Unlucky?
I've heard all of the stories.
Unlucky is the relative of cursed.
Some of it's unlucky. Some of it you bring upon yourself, right, Leroy? I mean, some of it you absolutely do bring upon yourself. And so here, I'm going to go back to what that was all fun, but I'm not wearing the cool shirt today. So I'll try and be a little serious here and say, if you go back to look at how each of these games fell apart, you can really identify. Now, it's something different every time,
right?
But you can identify where the Miami Dolphins team was either quote unquote the better team on paper or in a position to win games. And then you can find the exact moment where things turned the wrong way that were beyond just unlucky. So whether it was, I never want to say lack of preparation, because I got to believe that Mike McDaniel and the staff has the team prepared, but sometimes there seems to be a lack of focus or a lack of a sense of urgency, or, critical players making critical mistakes at the worst times. And you can't have those things. And I don't think that's a curse. I just think guys need to collectively learn how to win. And there's no better time than now when you literally are down to a 1-game season.
Seth, what do we got coming up this week on the Fish Tank podcast?
It's been an interesting couple of weeks. I think the entire league early this week, kind of took a break from pushing out content and for obvious reasons. And so from a full our full length episode last week, we had Dave Wanstedt. We didn't get a chance to talk about it because you guys were enjoying a well-deserved vacation, but Dave Wanstedt was fabulous. It was a lot of fun on the interview. He basically said, hey, look, I'm not looking for another coaching job, so I'm going to say whatever I want to say. So he was wide open, which was really cool. And we talked about the last time the Miami Dolphins won a playoff game, which unbelievably was 22 years ago. But it was, everybody remembers Coach Wanstead literally jumping on the back of Lamar Smith in the locker room and celebrating, his 200 plus yards and the 17-yard walk-off run in overtime. So Coach Wanstead was great. But today, we do our Friday fish bites. And today, OJ and I talk about the fact that this is indeed a one-game season. Juice said the playoffs start now. The playoffs start now because it is. If you lose, you're done. Yes, they need something else to happen to get into the playoffs. But ultimately, you have to win to keep your season going. And that's what playoff football is about.
Before we get you out of here, Seth, because you're right. We didn't, it was such a serious week, understandably so, because of what happened with DeMar.
Yep.
Which, if anybody's just tuning in, the great news today is the breathing tube is out. He's spoken to his teammates. So that's just really tremendous for the Buffalo Bills to get that news. But we haven't gotten to laugh a lot. And I actually saw this today on the way in. They do SportsCenter not top 10. And after a 6-game losing streak and all that, we don't really get to talk about the fun stuff of the game.
Five games. Don't count 6, Tobin. Come on, man. You're putting the curse on us.
Did Tyreek Hill leave Durham Smythe hanging, or was that part of the celebration? Because that backflip roundoff where he has the hands up, is Durham Smythe at least, is he giving him the score of 10, or was he looking for a high five and Tyreek Hill just blew right past him?
So that is the magic question. He absolutely blew right past him. It was almost a moment where he thought about high-fiving him. And look, he had just done a flip. Maybe he didn't have his wits about him, but it certainly looked like it was a great diss. But I love that Durham, just hold it up there. Like Michael Jordan on the follow-through. Just hold it up there, Durham, so make it look like it was the 10 or make it look like he left you hanging, whatever it might be. Everything I hear is that Durham Smythe might be one of the nicest guys in that locker room. So clearly it wasn't anything personal. But, man, it is a good laugh.
All right, Seth, have a good weekend, man. Let's hope we are talking about a playoff berth come next week. And everybody go get the Fish Tank podcast and listen to Seth and OJ. Is Travis back this week for the
Travis
post-game?
has been back for a couple of weeks. Yes, he's off of paternity leave or whatever they call it this day and age.
There you go. So you guys can catch them after Dolphins and Jets this week. Of course, you hear that here on 560 WQM. Thank you, Seth. Appreciate the time.
Thanks,
I appreciate you guys. Have a great weekend.
Alrighty.
And, I love the shirts.